Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Paul, and on this channel I pretty much like to go over things that I am curious about and things that I've looked into, I like to share here. So today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how I approach learning different subjects. And I mentioned this in the book review that I did the other day, but I wanted to kind of go more in depth here with it. So the way that I view pretty much any subject is I view it like a language, okay? So one of the things that our brain does whenever we hear a lot of new things, okay, it gets very, very, very confused because it can't identify any patterns, obviously, that it's familiar with. So let's take the most obvious example. When someone is speaking a language that we don't understand, like a foreign language that we don't understand, our brain listens for a second, realizes that it is not something that we can understand because we have no reference for it, and we kind of just tune them out. Okay, there's not really a whole lot else that kind of goes on in our brain. Maybe we'll start to look for facial expressions and look at their body language to try and understand what's going on, but on the word aspect, we just don't get it. And so this is also one of the things that I realized whenever I'm learning anything new, and this is the expression that you hear oftentimes with other people, it's just so hard. It's so confusing. It's so confusing. What I have come to learn is that just means, hey, I'm really unfamiliar. That's all that means. It's so hard. It's so confusing. All that's saying is you're unfamiliar. I have this belief that has really helped me, and I feel like will help me. We'll see what the future holds. But it's this belief that no one, you're going to have people who are different than you, like an IQ, but no one is smarter than you for the sake of that one specific field that they're in. So it wasn't the most eloquent way to put that, but here's what I mean by this. You have a lot of people who, let's say, speak Spanish. And sometimes they know Spanish and English. Yet you have a lot of people who speak English, yet they promise they can't learn Spanish. Yet maybe their IQ or something is higher than the person who speaks both languages. The idea that you're not smart enough to learn something new, and I'll give some more examples too. There is an intelligence that we can have when it comes to knowing how to repair things around the house or wherever you are. Just using your hands well. There are plenty of smart people who have no idea how to do a lot of those things, myself included. I have no reference for for those kind of things. I didn't grow up on it. Not that I'm calling myself smart. I'm calling myself equal, and this is where I believe everyone is. We're just unfamiliar with each other's territories. And I could obviously keep going with examples, but even maybe with just those two, you guys get the point of what I'm saying. Has nothing to do with intelligence. What it has to do with is being familiar with that field. So if you were to spend some time with those people, you would understand what they're saying. This is the other thing that I try and do. If I notice that there's a type of thinking that's successful in a certain field or industry, the first thing I'll do is I have to put my frame of mind with what their frame of mind is. So this is why I started thinking that. I would say, okay, if Johnny over there is just breezing through these different math classes, and to him it's like, bro, it's like right there. How do you not see it? Yet for me, if it was something that would be like, I have no idea what you're talking about, I tell myself, whatever Johnny sees, it is literally clear as day for him. So ask him, hey, what are you thinking? What are you thinking as you're looking at this? What are you initially looking for that's helping making this so clear? Because again, I'm taking the assumption, if I think the way Johnny thinks when it comes to math, I'll be just as smart as Johnny. Because it's not to do with intelligence. It's to do with being familiar and knowing what to look for. Same thing with learning languages. For some people, it's the hardest thing ever. For others, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, easy. Okay, got it. Here's kind of the structure that I follow. Memorize the vocabulary in this language, and then once I got the vocabulary, I know the structure, and okay, great. It's just a system. People who know finance, they're just more familiar with the terminology. There's a lot of technical jargon. People who are in the medical field, they would probably like to say that they are smarter than most people. And perhaps there would be something to that with the medical industry. But also, there's just so much to memorize, so I can understand on memorization alone how a lot of people would just not want to put that much to memory. But just because you memorize a lot of things does not mean you're necessarily smarter. This is where you get the difference between people who are good on tests, but then in real life, when it comes to things, they're not as successful as they were in the classroom, because some people are just good at memorizing things. Okay? So, what I'm trying to get you to understand here is learning new things and the appearance of being smart has nothing to do with being smart. At least this is my point of view. Sure, you have to have a baseline, I guess, intelligence of some type. So I'm not going to discredit that. But I think it largely has to do with being familiar and having the same frame of mind that the successful people in that field have whenever they go into it. You'll hear engineers swear that they're more analytical and logical. You hear artists swear that they're just more free and creative and whatever. All they're doing is explaining their frame of mind going into that craft. Therefore, when you have the engineer and you tell them to go do something, like creative writing or something like that, they're going to be like, what is this? Tell me what I need to do. What are the steps? What can I fix? Where can I go from here? But just, write this creative writing piece. What are you talking about? And he takes an artist who's very free, flowy, and etc. Oh, but here's a whole 10-step list on things to do, and then this goes here. It's like, why are you trying to put me in a box? Let me do my thing. Let me come up with it. And so this is just one of the things that I noticed. And so in my brain, the way that I think about anything new, is all it is a language. I need to learn that language. I need to learn their language. So in order to learn their language, okay, let me understand some of the vocabulary. Okay, now that I got vocabulary, let me understand how all this vocabulary works together, or how it works out in the physical world. But once I have those two things, the frame of mind and the vocabulary, and just learning that language, you know what they know. You know what they know, and now you're labeled as smart or very smart if you learn how to do this in multiple areas of life. But all anything is a language. It's all language. Understanding people, understanding intelligence, understanding social skills, understanding different languages, understanding different fields of study, all these things are languages. And if you can learn how to speak multiple languages, not just foreign languages, but multiple languages, you will appear extremely smart. But all you're doing is switching lenses of the world. That's also how I see it. I look at engineers, I look at doctors, or medical doctors, I look at artists, I look at all these people. And I'm like, all they're doing is having a frame of reference of the world. It's just a lens looking through the world. And then we swear that it's unique to us, and this is what makes us us. But all it is your brain focusing on the input that you're getting through a very, very specific lens. And the more that you can change it up, the more that you can change that lens up in how you're viewing reality, I would argue, the better picture of reality that you get, because the more perspectives that you get and the more layers that you can fold on top of one another, the more you can see the image clearer. Because sometimes through one lens, you see one thing. Through another lens, a new detail pops up. Another lens, a new detail pops up. But when you stack 10 lenses on each other, you see a common theme. And you go, okay, that's probably more where the truth lies. All these other things, okay, interesting details, I'll mark them down. But the truth is probably in that core through the 10 lenses. So the more lenses that you can stack up in your mind, perspectives, fields of study, languages in your head, the more you can understand people and the world, and kind of go from there and just understand what's even going on with ourselves and around us. So anyways, yes, that was a little bit more in detail on just kind of one of the ways that I view learning, because I know I mentioned it in the video yesterday. So if that was helpful at all, or if you learned something new, let me know down in the comments below. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.